Welcome to my SQL lab. This is going to be the first of a series of video tutorials we'll be doing for my SQL. You should start by subscribing to the channel and turning on the notification button. Thank you. Let's jump straight to it. We want to download, install, and configure my SQL DBMS. All right, so let's go to my SQL's community server. Okay, it's right here. Alright, we want the first one here, download MySQL community server. Alright, let's go. Alright, so this is the community server, and then we have the downloads here. But I advise that you should check your operating system selection here. By default, it should select the right operating system. Yeah, but in case it doesn't select, you can always look at the drop down and do it yourself. Alright, now let's get down to look at the files we have there. We have the MSI files, and then we also have the zip file. So we should go for the MSI file. Alright, so it takes us to the page, and there are two download options there. There's one that is 5.5 megabytes, and then we have the 448.3 megabytes. So let's go for the 448.3 megabytes. Once you click download, they are going to ask you to sign up or log in, okay? But you can always ignore that. Go down to this link and say no thanks, just start my download. Alright, so the download has started. So we are going to pause for the download to complete before we begin our installation. Alright, so my download is complete. I have the installer file here, so I'm going to click to begin my installation. So Windows is still configuring the installer, so we have to wait. Alright, so here I've selected all the products I want to install. So let me go ahead. Alright, let's click execute. Alright, so these are the products you should select. You should make sure you select all these products, then you execute. Alright, it's going to take some time, so we are going to pause it and then come back when all the installations are done. Alright, so we are done installing all the products. Let's hit the next button to proceed. Alright, let's hit next. And then let's leave the configurations as they are, and then we'll hit next. Alright, next. And here they are going to ask you to provide your root password. Yeah, so the root password is very important. You should provide something simple, something you can always remember. Yeah, I just went through a lot of challenge completely uninstalling the entire MySQL database management system. Yeah, so there is a way to reset the password though. Yeah, but that is also involvement. So let's just make it simple, something we can remember. Okay. Okay, it's a weak password. I think it's still okay. All right, so let's hit next. And then we execute. All right, so let's wait while they apply the configurations. Yeah. The configurations are done, so we'll hit finish and then next. So now we are coming to all right, let's hit next again. We don't need to do anything here. Then product configurations once more. All right, so let's hit next. And then they're asking us to provide the root password. So it's very important. Okay, so let's check. All right, so you can see the connection is successful. Yeah. So let's hit next to proceed and then execute. All right, so let's hit finish, and they're asking us to do some product configurations again. So let's hit next, and then let's hit finish. So the installation is done now. All right, so now I think the installation is successful. We'll go to my SQL workbench, open it, and then we'll see what happens from there. All right, so it has launched my SQL workbench. So this is the workbench we have. You can see that I have one initial root connection. Yeah, so you can always create connections for different purposes. Okay, so but let's enter this initial root connection. So you can simply click on the connection here, and it takes you to the workbench. But before that, they'll ask you to provide your password. So that's why we see password is very important when it comes to what MySQL database server and all database servers for that matter. So let's see. And then if you want life to be easy for you, you can always save your password to Vault. So just check this and then you hit OK. All right, so it's taking us to the Workbench editor. So this is the editor, and then yeah, it's not that complex. So at the very top is the file, the menu bar. So the menu bar, we have the menu items there. Then below that is a quick toolbar. So these are quick tools we'll be using often. So it is placed here. And then right below that is the navigator, or what I call the navigation pane. So the navigator has two views there. What you are seeing currently is what the administration view. So you can see management, instances, and performance. All right, so let's go to the schema view. All right, so they've provided you with some sample what databases you can use for your practice. Yeah, so that is the schema view. So remember there are two views here. Mostly we'll be working in the schema view because we want to be creating databases and so on. Yeah, so in database, when we hear of a schema, we are referring to what the database structure or the framework of the database. That is a schema. And then you realize that we'll be using what the name schema and database interchangeably. Yeah, so when we come to writing our code, a schema and a database will mean the same thing. Okay, so if you are to create a database, you can say create a database, or you can say create schema. Yeah, and then the system will understand the command. All right, then right below the navigator we have what the information pane. So the information pane also has what two views. What you are seeing is the object information view. So you can see that no object is selected. So once an object is selected, the information will be indicated here. And there is also the session view. It will give you the details of the connection and the server. Yeah, so these are also the details there and the connector you are using. All right. So coming to the center of it, that is the query pane. Yeah, that is where you are going to write your database queries or your database code. And then below it is the output pane. So all your executions are going to be what shown here, whether they are successful or there are somewhat issues with them. Is going to be displayed here with information that will help you to resolve those issues. Then to the right hand side, we have what SQL additions. Yeah, so that is also a pane there. Yeah, but normally we can turn some of these pane off because you can see that the query pane is actually small. It's looking so small. Yeah, it's not going to contain a lot of what queries here. All right, so we can turn off what the SQL additions. That is something we'll not be using often. So let's turn it off by clicking these buttons here. So once you click it, it will turn it off. And then even if you are still in need of more space, you can still turn off the output pin. Okay, so the output pin is also gone. And then you can turn off what the navigator as well. So now we only have the query pin. We only have the query pin. Okay. Yeah. So you can always what turn them on when you need them. Yeah. So as and when you need them, you can turn them on. But by default, I think you can just stick to what this kind of setting. You have what the navigator, you have the output, and then you have the query. Whilst turning off what the SQL addition. So let's always keep that one off. Yeah. And one more thing before we go, yeah, it's about executing your SQL queries. We have three buttons there for execution. Yeah, the first one, that is the flashy icon here, is when you are trying to execute an entire script. You use that one. So if you have what an entire code here, you want to what execute the code from beginning to end, then you use the first one. Or if you highlighted somewhat portions of the code, you can also use this. Then you can also what use the middle one. So you can see there is an I in it. That is when you want to what execute an instance. Okay, then you can use that. An instance means just a line. Okay, if you want to execute just one line of code, that is the option you go for. And the last option is when you want to execute with what some explanation, so you use the last option for that. Okay, so I'm going to end it here so that we can what begin to create our databases in our next tutorial. And then if you've not subscribed, try and subscribe and then turn on the notification button. Thank you and see you in our next tutorial.